Hello, welcome back. It is week 69 on Out on That Line. And for all you immature people, we're not going to make any 69 jokes. We don't do that sort of thing here on Out on That Line. We're mature, okay? So if you have 69 jokes that you were going to make, just stop. My name is Geoff. I'm here with my co-host Alex. As always, Alex, how you doing this week?
I don't get the reference. I don't even know what the jokes would be about. This whole 69 thing right over my head. What is that? That's some kind of TikTok thing? The kids are doing Gen Z.
Well, you see, Alex, when two people love each other very much, they might decide that they want to both experience a good feeling together and at the same time. And that's what that joke is a reference to. So immature folks all over the world see those numbers and how they line up, and they look like they're in that position that we're referencing. And there's nothing funny about sex. You know, so I'm with you. I don't understand where the humor is. I know what the joke is. I don't understand where the humor is in that, though.
I mean, I still don't get it, but you lost me at when two people love each other. So,
well, we have a very nice episode for the folks today. We are going to be talking about Band of Horses' new album. Came out just here in 2022. They are a pretty prolific band, so they come out with albums kind of all the time anyway. But this one is Things Are Great is the new one. Nice short little ride. We'll get to that one later, but we do have a couple of little tidbits that we want to talk about first. Did you want to start with yours, or do we want to start with mine?
Let's start with yours.
Okay. Well, I have some Steely Dan news. Stop the presses, because Donald Fagen has done it again, ladies and gentlemen. That man cannot help but just kind of put his foot in his mouth. So this is in regards to his upcoming tour that he had scheduled to have an opening. One of his openers is Amy Mann, and she's a singer-songwriter. I forget what band she was part of back before she kind of went solo. She's more famous for being a solo artist. So shortly before the tour, she got word that she was no longer on the tour. So she was obviously upset about that. And she had gotten word that it was because Donald Fagen didn't feel that the audiences were going to like both artists. And to me, I go to shows with opening bands hoping that they don't sound exactly like the artists I'm going to see, and maybe I'm going to hear something new. I mean, that's part of the joy of the opening bands, is when the headliner knows to pick somebody that has enough in common, but is different enough that you might find something else you like as well. I enjoy that. So I have no problem with, and maybe I certainly don't listen to a lot of Steely Dan. I don't listen to any Amy Mann. So as far as how similar those two musics are, I don't know. I don't know where the similarities lie. I don't know what they might have in common, but I do know that Amy Mann was chosen to open for that tour, and whether the contracts were actually all signed and sealed and delivered and all that kind of stuff, I don't know. But Donald Fagen was asked about it, and he said, well, first of all, the idea that I would make any decision based on the gender of a performer is ridiculous. That's something that would never even occur to me. There was a communication problem on our end. Classic. I was misinformed as to how firm the commitment was to any particular opening act. And although I have the greatest respect for Amy as a writer and performer, I thought it might not be the best matchup in terms of musical style. But I can't pass the buck. I'll take the blame for this screw-up. I apologize for any distress this has caused Amy and her fans, and his hands are clean. And I don't know if he could have sounded like more of a jackass than he did in this statement, but I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
You know, I guess now I understand what it feels like to be a fan of old slow hand, Eric Clapton or Van Morrison. I wouldn't put Fagen's latest crimes on the same level as what those two dodos have been doing all pandemic. But they say never meet your heroes, right? And I saw the headline on this article, and it was Amy Mann saying, as one of the few bands that I can say I 100% love, Steely Dan, this really fucking sucks. And it does suck. I think it's It was a shit apology. You can, whether it's all true, he's trying to have his cake and eat it too with like, well, I'll pass the buck. I can't pass the buck. I'll take it on. So it's like, how can you get mad at me? I admitted to the thing, but it didn't go down the way you thought it did. And maybe it didn't. Maybe he just sat there and was like, I don't fucking know if this is going to fit. Maybe we should think about getting somebody else. And then someone took that and ran with it and was like, Amy, you're done. Like you said, we don't know if the contracts were signed. We don't know who said what, who told who, how it got out there, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not making excuses for Donald Fagen. He doesn't need me to do that.
You don't want to do that.
Nah, I would be a fool to do his dirty work.
God.
See?
Oh.
Steely Dan.
Oh, that was quick because you didn't even know about this until like right before the show. So you came up with that. You came up with that line pretty quick.
No, 90% of situations have some kind of correlation to Steely Dan. That's just the nature of how they wrote songs. You know?
You just got a Steely Dan meter.
Oh, yeah. It's a generator in my brain. If I'm ever part of like a hostage situation at a bank, I'll just quote the lyrics to Don't Take Me Alive to them. I'm a bookkeeper's son. I don't want to hurt no one, but I lost my old man back in Oregon. Don't take me alive. Don't test me, you motherfuckers. This should show you how upsetting this is to see Steely Dan, to see Donald Fagen acting a fucking fool, because Walter Becker, God rest his soul, seemed like a pretty chill guy. He seemed like a very horny guy.
Which one beat his wife?
Fagen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, at least it's on just the one guy. At least maybe there's part of it that you can still get behind, you know?
And I will throw out there an allegedly because I don't know. And not to defend him. I just don't know if like they ever went to court over that, anything like that. We don't want, what we know about Donald Fagen now is he might try to come take a chunk out of the podcast ass, Jeff. We're on a rocket ship to the moon. We can't afford this.
No, we need all the fuel we can get.
Yeah.
That would not be good. So, you know, I just had to get my Steely Dan shots in. I saw an opportunity. I saw this article. I was like, thank you, Donald Fagen. Let me put another nail in that coffin.
Why do you hate me and why do you hate your fiance?
I don't, but I can fix you both.
I wish you wouldn't. I'd rather you fix me like a dog before you dissuade me from liking Steely Dan.
Well, I can't promise anything, but if Donald Fagen keeps this up, he may just do the job on his own.
It's tough. It's real tough. It's rough shit. Speaking of musicians, seamless transition here. Speaking of musicians
that was beautiful.
Who maybe kind of snow you with not being who you thought they were. Mm-hmm. I'll put it this way. It was started by one publication. And whether or not you believe in their credibility and whether or not you think that they're right to kind of lay these breadcrumbs out there, Vulture posted an article when Muse came out with their latest single, Compliance. And they said, oh, Muse just released a new single, possibly anti-mask, ? And I said, interesting. I'll bite. Let's see what they have to say for themselves.
Okay.
So all I'm going to do is lay out the evidence. I'm not necessarily going to refer to the article. I'm just going to refer to two things, and the people can decide for themselves. You can decide for yourself. So the music video for Compliance stars three people who are in these creepy white plasticine featureless masks. And they're running from the law, from the conformity police. And they're just wearing these damn masks. So the imagery in the music video seems to suggest, like, isn't it a bad thing that you put a mask on us? Perhaps that's a coincidence. But I would like to read you the press release that comes with the single.
Okay.
If I may. Compliance is about submission to authoritarian rules and reassuring untruths to be accepted to an in-group. Gangs, governments, demagogues, social media algorithms, and religions seduce us during times of vulnerability, creating arbitrary rules and distorted ideas for us to comply with. They sell us comforting myths, telling us only they can explain reality, while simultaneously diminishing our freedom, autonomy, and independent thought. We are not just coerced, we are herded, frightened, and corralled to produce a daily 2 minutes of hate against an outgroup of their choosing, and to turn a blind eye to our own internal voice of reason and compassion. They just need our compliance.
Woof.
Yeah.
Woof. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what I thought Muse would be like. I mean, I know they like that. What's his name? Matthew Bellamy, the lead singer. He's probably got more money than God at this point. I mean, they're one of those bands. It's like in the U.S. they'll sell out stadiums here, but they don't tour here all the time. Like overseas in Europe and South America, they are fucking massive.
Oh, yeah.
Like they are one of the biggest bands in the world. I mean, it's just like you get outside the sphere of, American music and pop culture, and it's a totally different ballgame out there. I mean, there's a lot that crosses over, but they're one of those bands that's just like massive overseas. So I don't know what I really thought about them. Wasn't one of them married to Kate Hudson or something? Didn't Matthew Bellamy like date her or something?
Could be. Very well.
Yeah.
Could be. Or
Lucky.
maybe.
He dated somebody. I don't know if it was Kate Hudson, but it was somebody that I was just like, you lucky son of a bitch. This little mousy looking prog rocker. And I mean, I like Muse's music. I'd never researched them, but I've got the lyrics up for that song right now. I pulled them up while you were reading off the statement, and it is not great.
Yeah. See,
not great. This is some like Van Morrison shit.
And this, before you go on, yeah, I did a reaction video to this, and I took it down. Not because, like, I'm afraid of it being political, but, like, with this context after the fact, I was like, I don't like my reaction, and not like, oh, I changed my opinion on the song. I had nothing to say about it because, let's get the elephant out of the room, it's a shitty fucking song. It fucking sucks. It's so bad. Have you heard it?
I have not.
It's
listened
awful.
To it.
It's the synth bullshit Muse. It just repeats the same shit over and over again. And I'm like, I couldn't muster any enthusiasm for this. I couldn't find anything to say. It was just a dog shit one. So not even for political reasons, I took it down. I'm like, this is just bad work.
Yeah.
But now that it's down, I'm like, oh, I don't know. We may have stumbled onto something here. So you were going to read us some lyrics.
Yeah. So, life lived in fear. You need protection. You're all alone. Too much rejection. We have what you need. Just reach out and touch. We can save you. We can save you. It's like going along exactly with what they said in that statement is like this arbitrary rules that they put down on us. And it's just like, yeah, you have a fucking ton of money and you're pissed off that you're not allowed to go do the things that you normally get to do. It's like, sorry about it, dude. But like over 1 million people just in this country have died from this. Yeah. I mean, it's in the millions worldwide. So like, this is not a nothing thing, It's like the second or third leading cause of death in the world this past year and a half or something like that. I mean, it's like vaulted up there from nothing to like top of the heap. And we're just going to act like this stuff is no big deal. Like, give me back my freedom. Like, just let it run its course. Like, that is crazy that people are going to feel that way.
But also, all the mask mandates are getting dropped everywhere. You have nothing to rail against anymore.
Seriously. Yeah. It was like the fucking Canadian trucker convoy that were still going after they dropped all the mandates. I think they dropped the mandates before they even got there to like do that shit. Now they're doing it in DC as well.
Yeah, I just watched Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan. I just watched his coverage of that. Channel 5, great YouTube channel if you guys don't watch. After you're done with ours, go to Channel 5. But like, yeah, they don't even know what they're mad about anymore. And the thing is, in a certain way, this tracks for Muse because their entire ethos is anti-authority. That album Drones, which was about like, it was an Obama era album that was like, hey, can't be killing people with drones, can't be making mindless soldiers and taking away people's autonomy. Their whole thing is anti-authoritarianism, anti-hierarchy. The album artwork for this new album has a statue that's toppled with a fucking anarchy symbol painted on it. Anarchy is anti-hierarchies. So
yeah,
we know very clearly where they stand, but it's a fucking, if your take is we're anti-authority because it's stepping on people's throats and we care about the people, then shouldn't you care about the people's health? And I've never been like a fuck you, I'll hold you down and vaccinate you guy. I'll hold you down and put 10 masks on you kind of guy. You're going to do what you're going to do. But this idea of like the people are being controlled by public health mandates and by sensible guidelines meant to protect them is like, you're not actually being protected. It's like, come the fuck on, you guys. Pick a dumber hill to die on at this point.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And we don't have to, I mean, like I'm sure most people listening to this that listen to us are probably going to feel the same type of way that we do. You know, I'm not afraid of getting political, but I just feel like we know what we think about this, and songs like this are like a bad thing, you know, and things that Muse is doing, like sitting on their high perch where they don't really have to get touched by regular society if they don't want to, you know, to put out songs like this as if they know what it's like to live in this world as it is right now as a regular person. You know, I don't know. I can't believe people put any stock into what someone would say about this more than they would look at the experience of their own life, inform their opinions based on that. And just, I mean, that's, you want to talk about not wanting to be controlled, you know, not wanting to, you know, all this stuff that they're going over. It's like, but if you're going to sit there and listen to this and treat this as gospel, like, are you not doing exactly what you said you didn't want to do?
That is what ultimately every like self-identified anti-authoritarian does, is they arrived at that because someone else said, trust me, you are being controlled. I am here to tell you the straight dope. You are not being controlled. I'm just offering you information. That's all I'm doing. But I've also created a hierarchy whereby you subsidize my existence by buying my supplements and T-shirts and coming to my live shows and paying for my Patreon. And you don't think that's a predatory system too? Again, like, it's that old joke about Bill Maher. Did you guys know Bill Maher has all the answer to life's problems? He's just giving them away for free. Like, nobody is actually doing that. Like, very few people are giving you any kind of information meant to free you. It is a grift. I think what Muse is doing, I believe that maybe they believe this. If this is true, if they can come up with a compelling reason why this was all a big misunderstanding, fine. But the evidence, and maybe the irony is I'm a conspiracy theorist now, but the evidence does seem to strongly point to them. I'd like to read to you the track listing as supporting evidence as well.
Okay, let's do it.
So we've already said they're anti-authoritarians. That statement is fishy. The mask imagery, the song itself, which again, I cannot stress enough, sucks. But here's the track listing for their upcoming album, which is called Will of the People. The title track kicks us off. Will of the People, Compliance, Liberation, Won't Stand Down. Oh, Ghosts doesn't really have anything to do with anything. This is the one for me. You make me feel like it's Halloween. Does that not invoke some mask imagery to you?
For real. Jesus Christ.
Kill or Be Killed. Verona, Euphoria. Okay, Verona Corona. Again, I'm probably doing an Alex Jones with that. Euphoria. We Are Fucking Fucked is the 10th and final track.
Yeah, that strikes me as not probably not on my side of the aisle. I'll just say that.
Yeah. The guys in Muse sound like they're having a normal one.
Yeah, that's they can take a long walk off a short pier.
And that's the thing is, again, it needs to be said, perhaps we've bought into literally one publication's supposition, but that got me looking at it critically. Just the headline. Is it anti-mask? And then I looked at the press release, I watched the video, I listened to the song, and I kind of did my own citizen forensic digging, and I have an opinion. I'm not saying this is what they intended. I'm not telling you guys. I'm not in an irony pretending to be an authority on this. I have an opinion. I have shared it. And if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, I have reason to suspect it may be the members of Muse.
Yes, absolutely. Let's move on, because I mean, I could seriously talk about this stuff all day, because I love talking about things that I hate. And I certainly hate what they're doing there. But let's get to the album because I think this is going to be a little better as far as the kind of mood here. It's the new Band of Horses. If you're not familiar with Band of Horses, I was somewhat familiar with them. Have you listened to a lot of them over the years?
I'm friends with Tanner. Of course, I've heard Band of Horses.
Oh, yeah, that's what a stupid question. Yeah, as if you had a choice. Yeah, as if you had a choice. But Band of Horses, like, I don't know. How would you describe? I would say like Americana, just like kind of light and easy rock and roll.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's Americana rock. It's indie. I wouldn't necessarily say indie pop or indie rock. It kind of operates in a space between the two because some of the songs are very, like, I'll just get it out of the way. So much of the material on this album sounds like the Shins. So Shins it hurts. I know you don't like the Shins. I do.
I was hearing a lot of Death Cab.
I can hear a lot of Death Cab,
especially his voice, like the way he's in the same register as Ben Gibbard. Like they could swap bands and it probably would sound the same.
Yeah, that's very true. So it's, I would say, indie pop rock. This one skews maybe a little more Americana. I can't say country, but yeah, Americana for sure.
Yeah, it was. I feel like it was country the same way that like Golden Hour, like a lot of Golden Hour is country. Like it was a artist that has done a lot of country before, doing something a little bit different. So overall, the sound was great. You know, the mixing on this was really well done. They always are. They're always very good with that. But I feel like I got the same feeling from this album that I got from just about every other bit of Band of Horses that I listened to. It was fine.
Yeah. And I'll go farther than it was fine. It's really enjoyable because I remember neither Zach nor Tanner, who are the Band of Horses guys, had listened to it yet, and I listened to it on a drive, and I was like, did you guys check it out? And they finally went, and they were both like, yeah, it's really good. It is really good. Unfortunately, with something like this, it stays in its lane. It's really good. There's not a ton of variance on the album. So it sounds like a backhanded compliment to be like, it was so consistent that there's not a lot to say, but it was so consistent that there's not a lot to say.
Yeah. Yep. And that's such a good way to put it.
You know? Because, like, yeah, I don't, it sounds dick. It wasn't exceptional, and it wasn't dog shit. Like, Eddie Vedder, we got a lot out of that discussion because it was very polarizing.
Yeah.
From song to song, the album itself, like that was all over the place. We got a lot out of that. I liked Beach House more than you did. We got a lot out of that. This is kind of like Spoon for me, where it's like, you guys did it. You did it. You did what you set out to do. And it was enjoyable, and I enjoyed it. But it also didn't like get its hooks in me and get me thinking about it all week long. Yeah. But it made for a great fucking drive. It's great cooking music. It's great. It's fun. It's a fun vibe. And
yes, it was great lawn mowing music.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Cutting grass.
Yeah, it was, I mean, for me, we'll get right into it. We'll talk about warning signs because I feel like just when we talk about the songs, we're going to say everything we need to say about it.
Yeah.
So this one was one of your picks.
I liked it because, so for context for the people out in listener land, when we were trying to figure out what to do, I was like, do you have any suggestions? And you sent me 3 albums. The new Frank Turner, which resident authority Tanner said was not very good. Okay. So if he says that Frank Turner put out a dud, you can take that to the bank.
Yes.
The new Avril Lavigne, I think we would have gotten a lot of mileage out of that, but it almost feels like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah, I feel like it would be negative mileage. We'd be going in reverse on that one. And I just don't want to do that. I don't hate Avril Lavigne.
No.
The album sucked. I mean, it just is what it is.
I don't hate her either. It's this thing that people like her and Limp Bizkit do where you put sucks in your album title. Like Limp Bizkit still sucks. Avril Lavigne, Love sucks. It's like, well, people associate you with suck. You pointing it out for us doesn't absolve you of suck.
Yeah.
You either need to deliver something of such quality that truly is irony, or you need to avoid it altogether. Don't draw attention to it. Self-awareness
is not a blanket, like, forgiveness machine. You know,
Correct.
it's like it doesn't automatically entitle you to people, just like looking past the fact that it sucks and finding things to like. It's like if it sucks, it sucks, and it sucks.
Yeah. Self-deprecation is not a panacea. So
Yes.
I to that end, Band of Horses kind of won by default. But I knew of them, and I'm like, well, this will be of quality, and it certainly was of quality. So Warning Signs for me was the first song to kick it off, and I was immediately enchanted. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Again, it's so shins, it hurts. I hear so much James Mercer and Ben Bridwell, however you pronounce it, and the lead singer. It captures a very early 2000s indie sound. And the cool thing about it is it sounds old enough to be new again. You know what I mean? Like it really does sound like a 2004 Shins effort. There's great texture to the sound. There's a lot of dynamism in it. It doesn't just, my new thing is like, it was a flat line. It was a flat line. That's a criticism I have of the Muse song Compliance. It was a flat line. But yeah, this had a lot of like nice musical texture to it. It was very upbeat, very clean, very bright. So I enjoyed it.
Yep. Yeah. And this was, I think it was just a nice, like peppy little song to start out with. And I think gives you a good idea of what the rest of the, without knowing it, obviously it's only the first song, but the first time you listen to it, like this song is going to tell you what the rest of the album is like. I mean, it doesn't really stray too far from this. And that can be a benefit because it's all well produced. It's all well put together. It's very pleasant to listen to. But if you're looking for something groundbreaking that's going to like change your life, give you a different perspective on some situation or something, like I don't think you're going to find it with this one. And if you do, that's great. I'm not going to hold that against you, but I just don't think that is in here. I just don't think it has that kind of depth. Now the one song I will say that I really liked a lot was In the Hard Times. Is the next song we're going to talk about. This was one of my picks, and just the way that it's a very mellow song. It very clearly wants you to focus on the lyrics, which are pretty good on this one. And I think that they're very adept songwriters. They know how to put together, they know how to swell up, they know how to be very dynamic with the sound to evoke those kind of feelings. And I think they do a good job of that, especially on this song. And it's just the way that they do that, the harmony in the hard times, the melody that they go when they're doing that as part of the chorus, like that's what I really like about this. It gave me very like Beach Boys kind of vibes as well. Just the way that the melodies kind of work together. Again, very Death Cab vibes as well. And I think it might be just the dude's voice. Like they just sound so similar to me. I really did actively like this song. The rest of the album, I was fairly, I liked it all, but this was the one I'm like, this was a very good song. I really did like this one.
Yeah, it's very languid, bluesy swing. It's not in any kind of hurry. The focus is, like you said, squarely on the sentiment, squarely on this idea of the feeling of isolation that comes from the inconstant affection of someone whom you can't count on. And that's the thing, is a lot of the lyrics on this, including with Warning Signs, are a downer, but it's got this kind of indie Americana sparkle to it that's very disarming. And I don't think they're doing a Born in the USA trick. I just think it's your personality, right? Because if you've got someone like Elliott Smith or Nick Cave or Jeff Buckley, someone who's got a very specific perspective and a specific voice, and I don't mean vocally, I just mean like your perspective, your POV, where it's going to come out in a very dark way, intense subject matter, but this is a type of person dealing with difficult, unpleasant subject matter in a much lighter way so that you don't get super bogged down in it. So, and I don't even think it's intentional. I think it's just instinctual. And I like that because it's something you can relate to, feeling isolated, feeling let down, but you're not drowning in your sadness.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think there is, and I think in the earlier stuff, there was, a little more anger, they were a little quicker to have some crosswords for someone, I think with this, like there's definitely a level of maturity that, I think they're all in their 40s or maybe even 50s at this point. Like they're, they've been around the block for a while. Like this Band of Horses has been around for a while. And I think it's the perspective they're able to have, and I think they do it best on this song, at least for me, about just recognizing a situation, not totally just understanding what the situation is and just realizing what your best step is going to be next, which is kind of just let that go. I like that because I feel like I'm at that point in my life as well. So it's easy to relate to that sort of thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To slip on through to the next one, which is my pick, In Need of Repair. This one to me was structurally perfect. Like if you're going to create a hit song in a lab, this is kind of what it sounds like to me. It's got a great hook. It's got these very kind of solipsistic inward verses. The pre-chorus moves into a higher consciousness, and then the chorus is speaking very, very plainly. And it just builds perfectly. It's a beautiful song. There are some great stops in it, great sense of dynamism. These little touches layered in. You hear like keys at different points. You're not always aware of them. My criticism is these are vague douchebag lyrics. So I will read some of those vague douchebag lyrics to you.
Yes, please do.
Which really keeps this song from being a 10 out of 10. The first verse. Well, hey, you, what's the matter, you? Can't do all the things that we used to do, and it sucks, and it's bad. And who's a good boy? What's a killjoy? Got some money, now I'm fighting loving your toys. Isn't it sad? I'm sitting in my usual chair, feeling the walls around me closing. I'm in a state of disrepair. I try to make it to the morning. All is forgiven, though, when it hits that chorus, that great hook. It's not enough. It's not enough. Like, oh.
Yeah.
Boner City.
They do that very well.
Oh,
they do that
great.
Consistently very well. Yeah.
And that kind of shit makes you forget about that first verse where I'm like, what, did you write this fucking draft after a tough shit at Taco Bell? Like,
yeah.
Boys, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's I can definitely understand where you're coming from on that one, because this was not one of my picks. This was not one that was gonna so a lot of times like you'll get your picks in first and I'll be like, oh fuck, because you'll pick at least one that I would have liked to pick as one of mine. This was definitely, there was no danger of me choosing this one. I don't know what it is about it, because again, it was all very well produced. That chorus is very good on it, but the rest of the song I just could not get into it.
Yeah, I really, for me, the barrier is the lyrics. If like they're not even on the nose, they're up the nose. Like they're just so like caveman basic, and there can be a beauty in that. To do like some, like, I think Gertrude Stein was a fucking dilettante. Sorry to any Gertrude Stein fans out there, but her very like strange, plain way of speaking, like you have to make an argument for there being some artistry in that. There's an artistry in speaking very plainly. But this isn't even like, the lyrics here really aren't doing that. They feel really tossed off. So whereas we criticize Dave Grohl for just making word salad, this is like word paste. You know what I mean? Like the song can subsist on it. Yeah. The song can subsist on the lyrics enough to get by, but they're a popcorn fart to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that one might have been like the weakest song on the album for me. It just like did not grab me other than the chorus in any sort of way. So we'll move on to my next pick is Aftermath. Now this one, I feel like, I don't know, how do I describe this? I think this is the most like Band of Horses song on here, I guess, in comparison to the things that I've always like heard by them. This seems like the best fit. Like if you were to play this for me, I'd pick it out, be like, yeah, that's a Band of Horses song. I think it's the lyrics on this one are pretty good as well. I mean, a little bit vague in some parts. I'd like them to be a little bit more clear, because there's it seems like an imbalance between like total clarity in the subject that he's talking about and like what he's trying to say, and then kind of getting a little more vague. And that, I guess, in a way doesn't work that well for me. But it's like that line. So he says, I brought you back, lost myself and you in the aftermath. Then what's worse than that? That was falling asleep dead in the bath. Like I was like, immediately you hear that lyric, you're like, what the fuck? Dead in the
Mm-hmm.
bath? Like what the hell is that about? And that's the kind of thing where it was like, grab me in immediately. And I was like, okay, this is probably the most interesting thing that's been said so far on the album. And then it just was a little inconsistent throughout the rest of the song after that kind of strong start for me.
Yeah, and it was the same hook for me where you have an image like that, and now you've got something to chew on. And I listened to it a bunch of times. I will say, again, it's not bad, but it's the opposite. It's one of those like consistent, do your
Mm-hmm.
job kind of songs, which is unfortunately why I don't have that much to say about it. But the subject matter and the search for meaning through those vague lyrics is what kept me sucked into this one,
Mm-hmm.
because I think there's some obvious interpretations you can make, and maybe I made the obvious one, it being about mental illness and pushing through an episode
Mm-hmm.
of mental illness. But again, it wasn't super on the nose. It was a little vague, and some of the way the lyrics were put together, I'm like, we're potentially muddying the waters here. But I'm glad it was more challenging than just
Mm-hmm.
like, I had a bad day and I took a bath, and you can guess what happened next in the
Mm-hmm.
context of mental illness, like just like really hitting you over the head with it.
Yeah.
So leaving some of that mystery and being a little vague about it, I think worked for this one, considering what I interpret them to be talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one, sentiment wise, worked one of the best for me on the album.
Yeah, and I think, and overall, I don't think it dragged, like the vagueness dragged it down enough for me to not like. I mean, I picked it as one of my choices here, so like I
Yeah.
clearly do like it, but the it could have been stronger. Like the in the hard times, I feel like for me was like that was the best all around song on there, and this one was close to that if the lyrics had been just at that level as well, and like the storytelling as well, because the music was there for me on this one. The lyrics were 90% of the way there for me on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, this is such a difficult album to talk about, because if you're going to do something polarizing like I'm going to get him in, Frank Zappa, I said in gum. Like a Frank Zappa album is going to be super polarizing. Song to song, it's going to be super polarizing. There's going to be a lot to talk about because big, bold chances are being taken. So I am not criticizing Band of Horses. I'm not saying they're playing it safe. They have a
Mhm.
sound that they like, that they're good at, that their fans like, that is objectively great and pleasing. It's all there. All the elements are there, but they're doing their job so well, and there's not that many moving parts to it
Mhm.
that it's very hard. Like you find yourself reaching, and then you sound like you're full of shit. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's better to just say it was good, and maybe don't make your voice go up because that sounds insincere. It was good.
It was good.
It was good. It was good.
All right. Well, what do you say we get to your last pick on the album, Lights?
So to kind of as an antidote to that problem of like a song that's not really doing much, like trying to go outside of the realm of possibility, Lights is one that did that for me. It's more rocked up than anything else we're gonna hear on it.
Mhm.
It's a little
Yes.
more, I don't want to say rockabilly, but it's definitely got kind of I mean, they're Carolina boys, so it's definitely got like a sweaty Carolina night kind of feel
Yep.
to it. It's not stomp and
Yep.
holler. It's still very Shins. Sometimes when it's Shins on this, it's to its detriment
Mhm.
on this album, but not here. This was a very weird song that was telling a story, and it's sweating out, trying not to get caught for a robbery. Um, and I think that's a fun, cool story. Obviously, not based on any life experience. They just kind of
Mhm.
told this tale of co-conspirators who were like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, I hope we don't get caught. But the cops show up and there's lights on the lawn and too many cops. And it was just kind of a fun, up-tempo, rocked-up Band of Horses song.
Mhm. And it's kind of funny too, like the way they do the
Yeah.
lyrics. Hey, can the lights turn off? Lights turn off. They're just like, hey, actually, guys, could you just actually go away? the way it's like they know they're in deep shit, but they don't realize like how deep the shit that they're in really. And I think a lot of us that have gotten in trouble in our younger days probably have felt exactly how they felt in this song and what they're trying to kind of convey here. I definitely have had a few run-ins myself with the law enforcement agencies around the country. And I understand the feeling that they're conveying here for sure.
Can I tell you a quick, amazing Rory story about the cops?
Yes, please.
So the other night, someone near his house, the cops showed up because there was some kind of... allegedly what happened is somebody was dealing and was not kicking up to the person they were getting their supply from. So a couple of enforcers got sent out to beat the shit out of somebody, allegedly. Because there were a ton of cops that showed up to his neighborhood, flashing blue lights, headlights on, brights on. Rory proudly tells me, he's like, so I marched out there and I went up to the first cop I saw and I said, excuse me, officer, but your lights are terribly bright and they're shining right in my window. Turn your brights off, sir. I pissed my pants. I'm like, Rory turned into a Karen at some point.
That's incredible.
Oh, can you
that
just
is incredible.
Imagine? It's so fucking absolutely
That's incredible.
Perfect.
So where, like, I mean, his street is a dead end.
Yeah.
It's like, was it like his neighbor?
I think it was, he said it was the people behind him, and I don't know what that meant, because the people directly behind him, the cop cars wouldn't have shown up there. So I think it might have been his neighbor up a little more.
Oh, maybe at the end of the street, like the very top one.
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Because, yeah, there's like a family with young kids that lives directly next door. I don't think it was them. They're just weird. But, yeah, he's like, I marched out there and I told that cop, sir, your lights are too bright. Turn them down. I'm a tax-paying citizen. So goddamn great.
Oh, should we just so we just said Rory lives on a dead end. Should we just drop subtle hints throughout the show, like throughout each episode have another subtle hint about like where specifically Rory's house is?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
drop a little clue that lets people narrow it down at a certain point that they know where Rory lives.
We'll have a little cipher. I'll start putting like directions from Google Maps how to get to his house in the album artwork for every week on YouTube. It's great.
Yes, it's not like he listens to this anyway, so he's never going to know.
He straight up admitted that today. He's like, I'll be honest, dude, I don't listen to your podcast. I was like, You didn't have to tell me. I know.
I knew that. I knew that for a fact.
Yeah, bro.
Which is nice. We can say whatever we want about him on this, and he's never going to know.
Yeah, fuck no. Not unless Tanner's like, hey, listen at 40 minutes in, Rory. Tanner, don't.
Yeah, I feel like Tanner's got more tact than that. If we really want to dig in there on Rory a little bit, he'll know not to tell him.
Maybe.
Hopefully. Like, you got to be on a podcast with the guy.
It's true.
So you have, if anybody's got a reason to vent and justification to do so, it's you.
If anybody's life fucking sucks, it's mine. Everything has sucked lately.
Well, Rory, I will tell you, I listen to every episode of the Skimbo Lounge. So just put that in your pipe and smoke it there, buddy.
Yeah, don't you feel like an asshat now? But this is again indicative of a larger problem, which is we just spent all this time dunking on Rory instead of talking about the song, because the song was fine. It wasn't even fine. Yep. It was cool. It was fun. It was great. But, it doesn't represent a paradigm shift in indie Americana. No,
it's just, I think Band of Horses has found their niche. They know they're going to sell out every mid-sized club in the country when they tour. And that's pretty good living to have. I mean,
Hell yeah.
That's what it boils down to, I think.
When you're this consistent. I'd do it. Oh, fuck yeah. I mean, you'd be crazy not to. When you are this consistent and you are this good and you are this in the pocket with what it is you do, it's hard to change directions for the sake of changing directions. There's no point.
Yep. Well, what do you say we wrap it up with the last song that I chose, and it's also the last song on the album, so that works out pretty well, is Coalinga. And do you pronounce it Coalinga or just Coalinga?
I, in my head, say Coalinga. It's hard
Okay.
to tell from them because of the way that it kind of fits into the rhyme
Yep.
scheme.
Yeah. So they were no help in in how that was pronounced, even though
Thanks, boys.
it's in the song several times. So at no point can you really tell? It's like is this dress white with gold stripes or blue with green stripe, whatever the fuck that is. Like you hear what you want to hear on this one, I think.
Laurel or
So this
Yanny.
one I liked. Again, I love a good album closer, and I feel like this one was a much different sound than the rest of the album. So if anything was going to make me want to really hear more on this album, it was going to be this song. And I think because it's the last one, it ended on a pretty positive note. So I have overall a pretty positive view on the album.
Yeah, from Warning Signs, which I picked, it's the first track. So from Warning Signs all the way to Coalinga, two very different songs. And it's kind of subtle variations all the way throughout the album up to this point. And you're right. This one kind of, a lot of the other songs have a very small town contained feel to them. Certainly in the Hard Times, certainly Warning Signs, In Need of Repair, Lights. They all kind of have these very intimate feeling to them. But Coalinga opens up. It's got that really huge sound of California wide open spaces, cow pasture out in the California sun. It evokes that feeling with its sound. Like I remember when my stepbrother got married in Joshua Tree, there was this town, and I don't fucking remember the name, between Joshua Tree and Palm Springs. Because we stayed in Palm Springs for a night. And we stayed, it was Palm Springs for a night. And then we like passed through this town to get lunch on our way to the other place in Joshua Tree. And it was this just like California middle of nowhere fucking cactus flat. But you could just stand out there and look around in any direction, and you're like, California is so goddamn fucking vast. And you just kind of drink it all in, and that was kind of the feeling that this song did. It's a little, a trippy little ode to the middle of nowhere.
Yes, and that was, I think, again, when you close an album, it needs to be something strong. It doesn't have to be like a super upbeat song or anything like that, but it has to have some closure to the emotions that it's putting across. And I think it does a good job on this one of providing that closure. And I think that's where it was a pretty short album overall, so I don't think it was going to be tough as far as, I'm concerned to like come up with a good ending song, because he didn't come up with a lot of songs in general for the album. So, pick your best one, put it at the end. And I think they chose, it wasn't my favorite one. I think In the Hard Times is still going to take that crown, but it's somebody's favorite for sure. This is somebody's favorite on the album. This is probably the band's favorite song on the album because it is so different. It does have those different sort of vibes to it. It has that, like you said, and I don't think I would have been able to come up with the words, but I love how you described it, is the wide open feel to the song. I think that nails exactly why I like it so much. Because it just made it, when it ended and the way it just kind of faded out, like it made me really want more of this song. Maybe not necessarily more of everything on the album, but more of the stuff like this. So I thought they did a very good job putting this one at the end.
I think so. I think, to wrap it up on my end, my final thoughts, I think this is a really consistent, enjoyable, technically excellent. The tiny dips and tiny criticisms are just that. They're tiny. You'll have a great time listening to this. I'm sorry if it felt like we were giving backhanded compliments or being vague. But again, when something doesn't blow your mind, but it's really, really fucking, as Matt Reno always says, rock solid, then there's next to nothing to criticize, but there's next to nothing to fill your pants over either. So don't focus on that as a negative thing. I heartily say stream this one. Check it out. The time whips by. You will have a great time with Band of Horses on Things Are Great.
Yeah, this album definitely goes by pretty quick. I'll definitely say stream it as well, just because I think it's worth hearing, especially if you're a Band of Horses fan already. You've likely already listened to this album if you are, but in case you didn't know that it came out, definitely go check it out because I think you're going to like it. If you like the Shins or Death Cab for Cutie, you're going to find some stuff that you like on this album as well. So definitely go stream it. Hopefully their next one, because they've come out with like much stronger albums in the past, and hopefully their next one harkens back a little bit to their heyday. I hope anyway.
Yeah. Well, as George Costanza says, that's it for me. I have no further thoughts on the album.
Yeah, me either. So we do have to do a little housekeeping here. And why don't you update the folks on what's going on over there at the YouTube channel?
Well, we just hit 151 as of this taping subscribers.
Hot damn.
Not too shaggy for your friends.
Yeah.
We have some cool stuff coming down the pike. I will pitch one very specific thing. It's going to be different from anything that we've done before. So friend of the show, Eric, is the front man that's a misnomer. He's not the front man. He is, I would say, one of the creative driving forces behind the band Phantom Airwave, who did our theme music. That music that you hear at the beginning and the end of every episode is the brainchild of Eric and Phantom Airwave. Phantom Airwave just released their first single, Don't Ever Stop. You can find it on Spotify. It is a fucking certified banger. I am probably going to do a singles video on it. But I've also been talking to Eric, and the first Phantom Airwave album is being released April 14th. They'll be having a release party and everything. So Eric and I put our heads together, and I'm going to be doing a cool video, sitting down with the members of Phantom Airwave, giving some insight into their creative process. How do you make an album? How do you make a pandemic album? And trust me when I say they aren't just our friends. They are insanely talented musicians, studio perfectionists. Their live shows are tight as fuck. I just saw them on St. Patrick's Day. They can make a bar full of drunk assholes puking on their shoes stand up and take notice. So Phantom Airwave is a big deal. And we want to give them as much shine as we can give with our 151 loyal Out on That Line subscribers. So look forward to seeing some exclusive content from your friends Phantom Airwave, courtesy of your friends at Out on That Line.
Yes. And I don't think we say this enough, is that we very much appreciate, because this, like, there's a lot of theme music that, is like people just made, a quick beat, or they downloaded some like, rights free music that they use for their opening. Like, we have a kick-ass opening theme song. Like, it is a kick-ass. And so you hear a little snippet of it. That's like, what, a 5-minute song?
Yeah, I mean, the part we use is literally the very end of the song, like, and how kick-ass that like 12-second sample is.
Yeah, it's a really, really good song. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing. And I listened to that single, and it kicks ass.
Yeah,
like, it kicks some ass. And that's exactly, as a big time like Coheed and Cambria fan, I love Rush. Like, hearing just some people that are just masters at their instrument just go absolutely crazy is always such a good experience.
Yeah, it's good shit. So we got that. We got our singles videos. We've got our reaction videos. We got the pod. Tanner and I are cooking up another on the record for you guys. It should be fun.
Excellent.
Got all kinds of shit over there on the YouTube. And you can find it with our custom URL, which I have memorized. youtube.com/C/Out on That Line.
There it is.
Like butter.
I'm so proud.
We did it.
Because you knew I was going to hit you with that again.
I fucking, like, rising up. It's just me staring at the URL the whole time like he's not getting me again.
It was, that was Herb Brooks with the whistle. Again.
This is our time. Oh, shit.
Yeah, so definitely make sure you go check out the YouTube. We've been having a lot of fun with that, and it seems to be getting some traction. So that's always a good thing, and I think we get some good interactions with folks in the comments, so keep commenting on there, letting us know what you want to hear. Same goes for the regular podcast episodes. If there's an album that you know is coming out and coming up that you think we're going to want to do on the show, let us know. Even if there's some sort of old album that you love, that changed your life, that you want us to talk about, let us know. We'll find a place for it. Look for those singles videos. Those are our brainchild. The reaction videos, we kind of go with whatever the flow is. If a new song is coming out that seems like it's going to be interesting enough, or by an artist that's popular, that's kind of how we pick those, but we'll always be open to suggestions on those reaction videos as well. We just want you guys to be involved like you have been so far, and we want that to continue so that as we grow, we don't lose touch with, what kind of got us there in the first place. So let us know. You can always find these podcast episodes everywhere that you get fine podcasts. So that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever the hell you get it. Anchor, any place you want, you'll find these there, but you'll also find them on that YouTube. Make sure you go to our Instagram, follow there, because Alex is always putting up some awesome artwork there. We get some updates on there as well. All of our links are there on the Instagram too. So if you're confused about where to find our stuff, you just go to the Instagram. It'll all be there. On Twitter, you can get us. That's been a little bit lax lately. That's my fault. We're gonna do better with that, folks. I promise we're not gonna do better with that. Maybe. We'll see. Perhaps. But make sure you get at us on those channels. You could send us an email at outonthatline@gmail.com. And just let us know what you want to hear. And Alex, do you have anything else this week?
Send it home. I'm out of here.
All right. Until next time.